Alright, welcome back to More Than Peaches Gaming. I'm your host, Mune, and today we're going to talk a little bit about my build. I've been asked by a few people, what does my Mod 14 build look like? How do I survive in places like Castle Ravenloft and Barovia, as well as the other dungeons like uh, Tomb of the Nine Gods, Cradle of the Death God, and so forth. So first things first, it all comes down to how you anticipate and what you're trying to do with this build. As you can see just by looking at my character, you can see that I have 3 encounters on. I have on set for my circle button on the PS4 is my Templar's Wrath. All right. In my triangle spot, I have Bane. All right. And then last but not least, in my last slot, I have Absolution. Okay. Prior to Mod 14, I never used Absolution. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So, what does Absolution do? Well, if you have a companion or another player, you can go ahead and look at them and you can go, oh, hey, look. Yeah, here's a shield. So, you see how they got the blue bar? That's the shield. It doesn't go away until they actually take damage, which is really awesome. You can also use it on yourself as long as you're not like pointed at yourself. Okay, it won't go away until that they actually deplete the damage or they leave the zone. So I'm gonna just go ahead and flick it on me real quick. All right, awesome. Uh, Templar's Wrath obviously gives you HP, temp HP based off of uh, characters or enemies around you. The more characters or enemies around you gives you more HP. Isn't that amazing? You can't really see it here, mainly because I have the shield. So, but it does go away if you drop out of combat, or after a certain duration of time, or you get hit through that. Okay, and then Bane. Bane is a little bit weird for the Pally tank, as it reduces the amount of damage that the marked target deals by 10%, and it increases the amount of damage the target takes from all sources by 10% per stack. Okay, and you can put up to 3 stacks on them. That's a 30% debuff on them for both their defense and their attack. So, very good. If you are a Pally, I highly recommend you use Bane. I can't believe how many people don't use it. I've heard of paladins that would go into end game content and they wouldn't know what Bane is. Okay? You need to have Bane if you are going to be supporting your party. Okay? And if you're like, well, I want to be top DPS, well, that's not your role. I'm just going to point that out. That is not your role. Okay? Yes, more power increases the amount of health that you have, thus creating kind of a power share, but at the same point, it's not your primary focus. Okay? If you debuff the enemy, they're taking 30% more damage. And I have a companion, which is the con artist, which is an additional 10%. So we're talking about a 40% debuff to their defense. Add in anybody else who has like a Chilton Tiger, a Cell Sword, you're talking about stacks of this. Okay, of these debuffs, which means HP gets ripped through a lot faster. Okay, but Bane is not just for defense, it also reduces the amount of outgoing offensive power of your enemies. So that means your allies take less damage, which means they go down less often, which means you clear content faster. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay. So what else do I have going for me? What else do I usually keep on my character? Well, first things first, as you can kind of see here, for my other abilities, like my daily, I use Astral Shield. I believe that's what it's called. It's been a while since I've actually looked at these. Shield of the Faith. Oh my god, why did I say Astral Shield? Sorry. Shield of the Faith. Okay? My other one, obviously, is going to be the more offensive one, which is Divine Judgment. Okay? Most battles, You probably just end up using Shield of Faith, even though most people have their damage reduction or damage resistance up so high to the max that it doesn't even matter having this on. Okay, but it can help a lot in boss battles. It's the extra little bit of added buff there. I usually just use Divine Judgment on trash mobs or when I just want to strictly do damage. Okay. Our auras that we use are typically Aura of Courage and Aura of Wisdom. At least this is what I use. I've heard of some people using Aura of Protection, Aura of Truth. Not so much of the other ones. Mainly because, yeah, it's just doesn't generally happen. When I play alone, sometimes I'll throw on Aura of Solitude. Now that companions don't count as an additional ally, we get the extra boost, which is like 12% more damage output. It's good if you're having to run content by yourself. Okay? But let's go ahead and go over the feats real quick. So what I took was Divine Action because I use Divine Call from time to time. It really does help. It does taunt enemies, and it refills my encounter powers. Weapon Mastery, just getting crit up. Crit is kind of essential. If you've looked at my previous build, I had an anti-crit build. Now I have a full crit build, which is really weird. It's so different. We have Toughness. No matter which way you're going with the tank, you always want more HP. Okay. Wrathful Strikes. Your at-will powers deal more damage. I use at-wills all the time. I put 1 point into Impassioned Please, which is I generate more Divine Call energy. And you might be asking, why aren't I using these other ones? I just don't care about the radius of my auras, and I don't really care about my healing. And my encounter powers already do recharge really quick, so I'm not worried about Exemplar's haste. And my damage resistance gets so high, it's not even funny. Okay? So then we have Steadfast. Each point of Constitution grants additional HP. Again, HP good. Divine Weapon I didn't take because I don't have any real healing. And then Force of Will, which is each point of Charisma, now increases my critical chance. Okay? Again, going for that crit build. So let's go ahead and start down here. I chose Gifts of Light because, whatever. It just seemed better than Seraphim, which is you increase strength of your heals. I don't care about healing. Okay? Here, again, didn't really care. I just went with Warrior's Bastion, gain a little bit more defense from my equipment, mainly because I kind of lack in it. And then Aura Gifts. Aura Gifts is the most important feat in here. Okay? Simply because it increases what your allies can do. It's a 25% buff to all your allies that are within 30 feet of you. And it lasts for 6 seconds. Okay? I don't know what the cooldown on this thing is, but it's good. Alright? This is how you power share. Okay? And up here, I just took Bound by Light. Control Strength. Basically, any type of control effects. So if you're using something to stun targets with, like, Templar's Wrath, it's good. Okay? Your encounter powers have 25% chance to have a reduced cooldown on your nearby allies' encounter powers by 10%. Okay. Radiant Champion. When you have at least 2 other allies within 30 feet of you, all of you gain 25% more movement speed and have a 5% cooldown reduction. Woo. Echoes of Light. Your at-will powers have a 10% chance to trigger Echo. Echo makes your next encounter power instantly recharge all your encounter powers. And it occurs once every 15 seconds. This is a must because it helps you refresh your encounters really quick. In addition to having Radiant Light. Or not, oh my god, not Radiant Light. Divine Call. Don't know why I said radiant light. Well, whatever. And then we have prism. Activating a power causes you to become a prism, and anytime you are healed, all allies within 30 feet are also healed that amount. This doesn't affect heal over time. So pretty basic. I took it because Purifying Fire isn't that great. And then Vengeful Judge, which is, yeah, it works great for Divine Call. It increases your damage dealt by 35%, as well as reducing the cooldown on your currently recharging powers by 35%. Your encounter powers have a chance to immediately grant you a charge of Divine Call. So, pretty good setup here, okay? Let's take a look at boons. I'm going to start from the bottom because it gets kind of weird. Right now, I have the Harden bonus, which is more HP, and I have not actually chosen my last boon for Ravenloft. I have another week to go with that. Let's see, what do these do? Every critical hit against an enemy has a chance to add a stack. 10 stacks gain 2400 increased power for 10 seconds. Healing another player, I don't do that. Anytime you use a root stun hold gaze on an enemy, you have a chance to increase the combat advantage. I'm really not going to use that. And then taking 10% of your or more of your max HP grants nearby allies 800 power for 5 seconds, and stacks up to 5 times. That's not bad. Okay, so if I had to choose between the two, man, this is a tough call. So this adds stacks to your power, which kind of is okay, but that's every critical hit against an enemy. Okay. And it can only be applied once every 60 seconds. And this doesn't seem to have a cooldown, at least not the way I look at it. And I could take 10% of my maximum HP and yeah, in an instant. That's not very hard. A lot of enemies in Castle Ravenloft do that, so this isn't bad if you're running Castle Ravenloft or some other dungeon that actually makes it so that you take a lot of damage. But if you're running easier content, Bloodlust would probably work better. I'm probably going to take Righteous Sacrifice in this case. Jungles with Chult, I was kind of all over the place, so I took the hit points. I only took it the first time because it's 500. And then all the others are sorry, 800. It's only half of that each time you go up. This one is increasing damage to dinosaurs and more HP. This one is more power and HP. And then this one is for more regeneration and HP. Now, why did I take HP for, or only one of these is only for the 1 HP, because I get half as much each time I do it afterwards. Which means, in this case, for Shamanic Grace, it's only 400 after it. So it's 400 after the first time, but it gives the biggest bonus from the get-go. Okay, and I just went with this one because it gave me more power. I went with Soul Siphon for the first one of these, chance to stack Soul Siphon on killing or when you hit an enemy, and then on killing a creature, release all stacks of Soul Siphon and burst it to nearby enemies. Good for things around you. You restore 100 or 1% of your max HP for every stack released. And then this one, chance to hit on hit. Applying Lingering Curse lasts for 10 seconds. Can be applied once every 60 seconds. And when a target is under Lingering Curse is killed, it explodes and deals 30,000 damage to anybody else around them. So, pretty good. Let's see. We got Demoralize. It's good when you're killing enemies quickly. We have more crit and more HP. And we have lifesteal and HP. And then up here we took Aberrant Power for the additional, well, power. And deals a little bit more damage. So, Storm King's Thunder, we just went ahead and took control resistant HP. We took stamina gain. We took more damage when taking damage. Increase max HP by 3,200. And then we finished it off with taking Chill of Winter, which is releasing stacks to deal damage when hit by a foe. Here, what are we under? Elemental Evil, we just took Wave of Force, Power, HP, things we like. Lifesteal Severity, compared to Regeneration, I didn't really care. 400 crit in HP versus Recovery in HP. And then we took another one. When take damage, you have a chance to heal. Alright, so here we have Lifesteal Severity. We took control effects, now have 5%, so you're stunned less. Action points go faster, and increase to control strength. Alright, here we are. We get 400 power, crit, stuff we're looking for, armor pen, lifesteal, crit severity, and control strength. To Underdark. We took more power and HP, crit and HP, combat advantage, control effects that last less, and more damage versus demons. So many times you got caught up with so many things with demons where just need to have it. So, like Throne and Prophecy of Madness. So, combat advantage, stamina gain, crit severity, more power, and obviously chance to gain 10% more action points when killing a target. Again, these are all over the place. This is what I built, and this has been adjusted a few times, so just a heads up. Alright, so we start off with power movement, lifesteal, resistance ignored, what do we got here? Damage, when dealing damage, okay. And then last but not least, you get stacks of madness, and you gain 4,000 power, 4,000 lifesteal, 4,000 regeneration. We got power, crit, HP, deal damage, and when you kill a foe, gain more power. Don't have any of the PvP stuff, so it doesn't apply. And last but not least, we have our Stronghold, which I took power, obviously. And here I took defense because I'm kind of lacking in my defense department, which I get currently the 8,000 defense, which you'll see when I go to my stats how much that actually plays a part. And I could have taken lifesteal or control resist, but I didn't. And under utility, it doesn't really matter what you take. If you're running harder content, I'm probably going to recommend that you take the Revive Sickness, but if you are not doing the hard content, anything else will work. A lot of people like the mount speed. I have Treasure Hunter because I'm all about the gold right now, and again, no PvP. So, companions. So I use the Lion. That's a stalwart golden lion. I use the Energon. I use God, what is this guy called? I always forget what he's called. He's the guy that you use out in Barovia. So I mainly got it because it gives me all the extra drops in gold. So believe it or not, this is really good because this is the only companion that gives you gold bonus. So highly recommend it. Okay, I have the Dread Warrior, 10% chance to become enraged, increase threat generation by 15%, tanking basically. And then I have a Con Artist. Okay, now I have these all to 13 for my bondings for mainly power, and defense. And then I have Beta Assault Rings, which are crit and armor pen. And in the slots I just have crit. So rank 13 Azures. Nothing all that special. Okay. gonna go quickly over to mounts. Got a guard drake with my insignias, trying to get certain kind of powers. As you can kind of see, these aren't the best powers. Uh, yeah, again, 30% of my power and defense for 10 seconds whenever my summon companion attacks. Okay, stacks 4 times. This is for getting refining stones. Again, 1% power and defense for 10 seconds. So again, this is just like that, just called something else, and it's less of a percent. The 3%, this is 1%. When I have full action points, I gain 10% more armor pen as power. So having a full action point gauge gives me more power, which is nice. And then this one gives me the ability to deflect an attack, or whenever I deflect an attack, I will be healed. Not very often does that happen. Okay, so last but not least, we're just going to go briefly over these. I'm wearing Guides of the Wolf Clan. If you're not sure where to get this, you just get from the Mysterious Merchant of the Guild. And the enchantments I'm using is just Dragon Hordes. Armor, I'm using a Oathlord's Ward Cuirass. Otherwise, I would be using a Primal if I didn't have this. And it's pretty good. I really like using it, and the slots are obviously, every time you have a defense slot or an offensive slot, it's going to be filled in with Radiant, so no guessing on what this is going to be. When I got my rank 14 off of the anniversary event, I just put it in my weapon in an offensive slot. So the armor enchantment I'm using is a lesser soul-forged enchantment, so it basically means if I go down, I come back to life. So pretty nice. It's like an extra guy or second chance, so very good to have. Got a Fey Blessing in here on my Primal Restoration armlet. I'm just going to say I'm probably not going to change this for a while. Bronzewood weapon and offhand. So these work really great when you're working in parties that have these, and they just work really great. I highly recommend that if you do not have these and you have other people that are running these, use them. If you don't run with other people that use these, don't worry about it and just go ahead and use the Primal. Okay, these are made from masterworking or mastercrafting, so yeah. And the offensive slot enchantment is, I actually have to double check, it is a Transcendent Holy Avenger, which is okay, but it's not the best. This is more or less borrowed, so. And as you can see, we have this right here for the 1000 power. So for the feat, I have a Primal Restoration feat with a Quartermaster in the utility slot. If I actually had the ability to get the Oathlord one, I'd probably replace that there, but not too worried about it. So moving across, we have Cloak of the Protector. And in the utility slot is a Dark Enchantment. So it's not very well leveled up, but it's getting there. So I have a Ring of the Shadow Stalker +4, and I have a Bronzewood Raid Ring. This is made from masterworking, and this is found doing stuff out in, I think, Omu. So, out of one of the treasure chests. Greater Plated Band of Constitution, and again, we have the Dark Enchantment. Here we have the Droughtcraft Chaincoat. Can you believe it? I'm still using this damn thing. Which is, again, Radiant for the offensive slot. And then I'm wearing Pants of the Chultan Merchant. And another Radiant there. So, artifacts are Symbol of Fire, Heart of the White Dragon, Sigil of the Oathbound Paladin, and the Lantern of Revelation. I use the Lantern of Revelation as my primary, so I can debuff enemies. Okay? So, again, it's all about creating as much debuff as possible. So, between my companion, and my character's you know abilities like Bane and the Lantern, I knock off roughly about 56% of their defense. Okay, means they take 56% more damage when I use them all. So yeah, it's really good. Now, standing here real quick, people have been kind of curious what my stats are looking like. So I have 10 strength, 31 con, 12 dex, 12 intelligence, 15 wisdom, 20 charisma. So this is what the breakdown looks like, in case anybody was wondering. My AC, my armor class is 40. My power just standing here is about 44,000. My crit is 12,000. My damage dealt is plus 112%. Critical chance is 53%. Crit severity at 84. Defense ignored 46.5%. And damage taken negative 81.9%. Okay, those are the important things. Okay, now when I'm actually in combat, my damage taken will go about 95%. My crit chance will be about 98%. And my damage dealt will go up to, I think, about 130% or so. And defenses ignored will go up to about 96%. So it's really, really powerful when you start getting into combat. So that is the build. I am just going to stand here for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and take a good grasping view of the world. Take it all in. And I'm actually going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I will show you what it's like to actually be in combat and what my stats look like when I'm in combat. Alright, welcome back. Here we are taking a look at the dummy. We haven't done anything to it yet. We still are looking at our stats. We said 44,000 for our power. Damage dealt is at 112%. Our crit chance is at 55%. Our defenses ignored is at 46%. And damage taken is at negative 82%. So the question is, how high will it get? Alright, so got my companion out. I'm going to start hitting this. Just going to hit it a few times, because my companion is proccing. Okay, so we have 78,000 power. Again, my crit chance is going to be down here. My crit chance is at 95%. Damage dealt is a little bit higher than what I thought it was going to be. I was thinking it was only going to be about 130 or so. So yeah, we are at 197%. Defenses ignored is at 96.2%, which is about right where I said it would be. Damage taken is at negative 95.8%. So a little bit lower than I thought it was. But either way, this is what the build is like. Just being here. This is without anybody else around me. Not being buffed by any items or the like. I don't have anything in my overload slots. And I'm not being buffed by anything other than a campfire bonus. Okay? So, as you can kind of see here, the campfire bonus is giving me additional boost to my ability scores. And my aura of courage allows me to deal more damage. So this is my companion attacking, which these are kind of funny numbers, because I saw something really big for a number. So I'm going to attack this here in a moment. I'm just going to use this, and you'll see how many orange numbers just keep flying up, and how often I get yellow numbers. You do see them from time to time, but I'm not sure if those are mine or my companions. I'm guessing that they're mine, because they are kind of high, okay? In addition, like I said, I can use my Templar's Wrath to gain that temp HP. Again, you can have that on. I didn't even see how much damage it dealt. So Templar's Wrath does about 35,000, which isn't a whole lot, honestly. But the more targets you hit with it, the more HP you get from it. And again, you could also, give yourself temp or shield, and then buff. Okay. Again, the shield lasts as long as you are in the area. It has no time limit. You can go out of combat. Which I'm going to travel real quick and I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm just going to travel to let's try somewhere with some combat. Let's just try Helm's Hold because it'll probably load really quick. Okay, so I switched to zones, and you can see I no longer have my shield after being in the stronghold. So it's gone. Additionally, you might be asking me some question of, okay, it's not all about the stats, it's about how you play. What's your rotation? Well, this is what I claim to everybody, is that there is no rotation for my class, okay? And the reason why I say there's no rotation is because it's situational, okay? If you get hit by a big attack, you don't keep in your rotation. You immediately try to recover from that, okay? Because your job is to stay alive, and if you're dead, you can't do your job, okay? So, first thing I always recommend that if you are getting hit considerably by enemies to the point where you're about dying, you should probably put something in your potion tray. I recommend the, oh god, what are they called? It's been a while since I've used them. I only recently got them. I think they're like the Greater Stones of Health. The ones with like 200 charges are the ones that I highly recommend, or even the 50 charges will work. Let's see, do I actually have one? There's one. Okay, so the personal Greater Stone of Health. Okay, these things are amazing. If you have them, only use them if you have to. Okay, otherwise, in my honest opinion, off of what I have here for a build, you won't need them unless you're in Castle Ravenloft. Okay, so that means you have the point where you're starting the game all the way until the point where you actually enter Castle Ravenloft to collect those. So that's what you're going to want to do, and you're just going to have to wait it out, okay, to use them. Otherwise, I recommend just, getting out of danger, pop your Templar's Wrath to gain your HP. Again, more individuals around you, the more amount of temp HP you will get. If for whatever reason that's on cooldown and you need something else immediately, and you can't use your Stone of Health, use Absolution. Okay, Absolution is good to use on your allies before a big boss fight, or when you're in Castle Ravenloft during the final boss fight. Use it on the person who has the sword, mainly because they're going to get hit awfully a lot. Okay, so that's the strategy there. Otherwise, you can use other powers up your arsenal to deal with other situations. I've used Binding Oath for a long time. It does work very well as your replacement for Absolution. So you can just give yourself a shield, and whatever was dealt before it dissipates more or less gets dealt back to other individuals. There are some powers I say absolutely keep your fingers off of, like Banishment. Don't use that. you piss people off. Same thing with Relentless Avenger. Okay. Another good alternative is Circle of Power. I really only use this when I'm playing Two in the Nine Gods. So, and only during the second boss fight. So use it at your own discretion. And if I'm dealing with lots of mobs and I don't really want to use Absolution, I will use something like Smite. Okay, it works great. Or I will use Divine Touch, depending on how many enemies there are. So, kind of keep that in mind when we're dealing with powers. All right. So, what do I typically do when I go fight a boss? Let's say I'm fighting Orcus in Castle Never. I'll be on approach. So when I first get in there, I will use Templar's Wrath, and then I will start running at him with Bane. Okay. And in that dungeon, I would use Binding Oath. So then I would pop Binding Oath, and then immediately follow up with my artifact, and use Divine Call, and basically repeat whatever I can. Okay. Otherwise, just holding down my R2, which is, as you can kind of see here. So my L2 is Radiant Strike. My R2 is Oath Strike. Okay, has a lot of different things here. The final strike of this power forces the target to attack me for 3 seconds. So that's what I want, and it does additional damage. Okay, so but you have to keep swinging with it. That's my good to go to. But when you're dealing with harder content, your situations may dictate that you need to use Bane first, or you need to make sure that you use your artifact first. When you're going against easier content, you might not necessarily need to use any encounters at all. And if you do, it probably limited it to just Bane or Templar's Wrath, or a combination of the two. But otherwise, you might be just using something like Radiant Strike to get through most leveling dungeons, because it hits multiple targets and it's kind of charging, not as much as Relentless Avenger, and it doesn't knock back at anybody. So, very good to use. But otherwise, yeah, that is basically the build in a nutshell. It is a Oathbound Paladin, Oath of the Protection. This is what I currently have built, and the great thing about being a Pally, Oath of Protection, is you can honestly build it several different ways and come up pretty good. I remember with my previous build, I was using stuff like Vicious enchantments, and what was it? Cruels, I think, where I would get power and recovery. And that worked really well for pretty much everything. Unfortunately, it didn't do me justice when dealing with anything that was Famebreaker Island or beyond, so I had to change it anyway. I kind of got rid of my build previously, and I kind of rebuilt it. So this is what I have. The only reason why I haven't really upgraded to 14 for my enchantments is because of those dang ultimate enchanting stones and the really poor luck I have with preservation wards. So it costs a lot of money to just upgrade one, and I have a lot of enchantments to upgrade. So I'm just going to pass on that for right now. I don't know if I'm ever going to get the chance to actually upgrade them, but we will have to wait and see. Yeah, but the build in a nutshell, as I would like to put it, it is very good. And if you're wondering what my ratio of deaths are or downs in a good Ravenloft run, I would say maybe 9. The most I've ever died has been probably way over 40, but completing it, most deaths I've ever had is about 40, and that was for like my first run. So take it as you will. The dungeon itself, I have not been in it since they supposedly fixed a few things, but at the same time, I don't really like running that dungeon. So if anybody's wanting me to run content with them, I'm up for it. But the problem is that I don't generally like running end game content all that much. I like playing stuff in between. mainly because it's less of a grind for everybody else. If you ask me, oh, will you run FBI? I guess I can run FBI, but I don't want to run something like Master Spell Plague all that much, or Tomb of the Nine Gods. So anything that's currently basically in, I think it's Expert Queue, which is these three I don't really want to run, and not much in the uh, Advanced queue. So if it's in the intermediate queue or the leveling queue, I'll be more inclined to do so. With the exception of probably Tiamat, Demigorgon, and God, what was it? Prophecy of Madness and Throne of the Dwarven Gods. I really hate running those. Ran them so many times. Uh, and everything else here is fine. So, pretty good content. Like I said, don't die that much. So, generally don't have to use a lot of scrolls. I can generally get through Castle Ravenloft without even using, 5 or even 10 scrolls. So, it just kind of depends on who I run with. So, that's just kind of how it goes. So, again, thank you so much for watching this if you were interested in it. If you want any more details about this build, you can just go ahead and send me a message in game. That's fine. Or post a message in the comment section, and I can disclose any other information that you need. If you're wondering anything about how I got or why I have such boons, I can go into further detail about that later. But my current build is this. But when I'm running around just doing pretty much nothing else, nothing important, I will have other mounts on, simply because the other mounts will make my life a lot easier. Because I am still preparing for Mod 15. And Mod 15 consists of basically trying to make sure that I have enough stuff going around. And as you can kind of see here, this is all for this, okay, which is the additional gold and experience gain, as well as some HP. So this is actually what I'm really going for. I don't think I mentioned this, but yeah, I took power for my power on my mount. And this brings up my power a little bit, not much. So, but the goal of this was to get everything down here at the very bottom all the way up, because I want this gold bonus and this experience bonus before the end of the mod, because gold is a commodity, and right now I am saving up so much gold. Right now I'm at 5,300 gold. I've just been saving up, doing everything I can do to get it, because I know it's going to be used for a lot of professions, and I don't want to be one of those individuals stuck in a rut. And I'm also helping out my fellow guild leader with their costs. So we will have to wait and see what all the costs will be finalized as, and hopefully you'll see me again. Alright, thank you so much for watching. And this has been Mune playing Neverwinter in Mod 14.